Hi guys, the Metal Maniac back again, and this is going to be a little bit of a different video. This is going to be one of those videos where I talk about sort of movies. This is another one of those list top 5 things. I haven't done these in a little while. I don't know when's the last time I did one of these, but anyway. So, in this video, I'm going to be listing my top 5 favorite zombie movies. This list, this topic, this list one, the zombie movies, was actually, I was inspired by, one of my other, one of my many, favorite YouTubers, that goes by the YouTube name, Hellhound from the Horror and Metal YouTube channel. He did his, top 10 favorite zombie movies, and, I was like, hey, why don't I do my own list as well? So, yeah, now, I'm not a huge fan of zombie movies, so there isn't enough to do a top 5, but there is enough that I like to do a top 5 and one honorable mention. But yeah, so with that, let's begin. So, my honorable mention, kind of the only one I don't actually own at the moment, is, the movie Dead Alive. This one is one of the more, I guess it's more known now than it was back when it was originally released. It was directed by Peter Jackson, who, would go on to do Lord of the Rings. It's sort of a horror comedy, but it's also one of the goriest movies ever made. Like, there's just tons of guts and blood flying all over the place. There's this one scene where the main character, Lyle, is just, actually mowing zombies down with a lawnmower. It's really cool. Like, the plot is kind of bizarre but entertaining. The plot is basically, Lyle has this overbearing, overprotective, and kind of tyrannical mother who basically uses him and his, I guess, infinite kindness to basically chores for him and just do basically anything. And then one day, him and his mother go to the zoo, and his mother's bit by this weird rat monkey thing. And then she slowly starts to, like, slowly die, but then become a zombie. Then she infects a lot of other people. Then there's this whole zombie thing going on. All at the same time, Lyle has to deal with a love interest and this one of his family members trying to trying to take over Lyle's mother's house. Just a really great zombie movie. Again, very gory but very fun. It's just one of those ones that like works very well, combining horror and comedy. And the only reason it's at this honorable mention is because there are 5 movies I think are slightly better that I like slightly more. But yeah, and also I haven't gotten this movie yet, mainly because it's out of print. Even the Blu-ray is out of print, and it goes for really, really, ridiculous amounts of money most times. But I'll try to get it eventually. But yeah, Dead Alive is my honorable mention. All right, number 5. Number 5 is Shaun of the Dead, another horror comedy. This was probably one of the first zombie movies that I ever saw. I remember years ago when I was younger. I went to a family reunion. I forgot whose house it was, but it was a family reunion on my dad's side. Anyway, so at this reunion, I went in one room and like they were watching what I would now know to be Shaun of the Dead. At the time I was very, very young, not really supposed to watch that kind of stuff, but like I got through, like I watched some of it, and then got caught and was not able to watch the rest. But years later, I was trying to figure out what the hell movie it was. Then I came across it by chance at a library or something. And then I watched it in full for the first time, and I just fell in love with it. Nick Frost and Simon Pegg are one of the best comedy duos of all time, in my opinion. Also, this is part of a trilogy. There was this one, Hot Fuzz, which was sort of a police themed movie, and then the third one, which is my second favorite, called World's End, which was sort of a alien sort of apocalypse type movie. But this one's my favorite, and it's one of those that yeah, sure, even because it's a horror comedy, it can be extremely goofy at times. Sometimes maybe too much for some people, but I think it works very well. Also, it has one of my favorite actors in it, Bill Nye. No, not Bill Nye the Science Guy. Bill Nye the actor, who is usually known for playing. Well, Bill Nye, for the most part, plays two distinct type of characters in movies. Either the main villain, or it's just a side character who's not really evil, who's just an asshole. He plays that, the latter in this movie. But yeah, it's really good. The plot is actually kind of not unique, but it's not done a lot. Most zombie movies are, oh, this is the apocalypse, everyone's panicking, oh, whatever. This one does something very clever. It slowly builds to it, because Shaun in this movie is kind of oblivious to what's going on at first. Like, for example, like before the apocalypse happens, like he, does his daily routine. Walks out, goes to this convenience store, buys whatever snack or drink, and then he goes back to his house, right? Well, when the zombie apocalypse first hits, he he does that, but there's all this chaos in background, people dying, zombies eating people and stuff like that, and there's just all this crazy stuff going on in the background. He doesn't notice, he just keeps on doing his daily routine and goes back. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny how they keep, that joke extended for a while before he realizes what's going on, soon after. But yeah, it's just a really great movie, and I absolutely love it. It's at my number 5. All right. Number 4 is, I guess, the definitive first zombie movie I ever saw. Of course, Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. As you all know by now, if you've seen my other video of my top 10 favorite, I think it was top 10 favorite movie franchises or TV shows or whatever it was. But yeah, I don't not like most Scooby-Doo movies and shows. I think most of them are really good. There's a few that aren't good, but anyway, getting off topic. This is really deep and sort of disturbing for, I guess, was a kids movie, but it's really cool. They do the zombies sort of in a way where they're not the main focus in terms of the horror. I mean, yeah, sure, they're in there, but just the overall mystery in this movie just sort of builds the atmosphere, and then later on the zombies happen, and then it builds from there. As for the plot, this one, the mystery gang in the beginning broke up. They're done. They're going their own ways. Velma is a librarian at a bookstore. Shaggy and Scooby are working at an airport. I don't know what their job is technically called, but they try to search airport security. I guess there's security. I guess they check to see if anyone's smuggling stuff into the country or whatever. And then Fred and Daphne are at part of this reality show. But then they all get back together at one point, and they hear of this island called Moonscar Island. Supposedly that it's real. It's supposedly legitimately haunted, because at this time the reason why they broke up is because none of the mysteries involved actual supernatural forces. It's all fake. So they have this one. They do this one last. They give it one last try. And they go to this island, who they meet this one woman with her daughter, and they tell them about the pirates who invaded, and back in the day, and just like supposedly there's a treasure, and supposedly the pirates in it are ghosts or zombies or whatever. And then I'm not gonna give too much away for those who haven't seen it, but it's really cool. One of the better Scooby-Doo movies in terms of having actual monsters. But yeah, it's really really good. Also, you have some really interesting voice actor cameos. You have Mark Hamill, who does voice acting for a very minor character that you only seen like what 2 scenes. And then you get Adrienne Barbeau, who is the voice of the main person in the story of the thing. Adrienne Barbeau, of course, with Halloween and the fog and stuff like that. But yeah, just a very, very good movie. Again, from what I remember, the very first zombie-related movie I ever saw, and it still holds up. Anyway, all right, number 3. Number 3 is on this pack of like 20 different horror movies. Let's see if we can find it. Ah, there we go. Number 3 is Oasis of the Zombies, right there. This one has one of the most unique settings in terms of a zombie movie. Because it's in a desert oasis. The movie takes place in a desert oasis. So the plot of this movie is actually kind of interesting. So in this movie, there's this group of people who have heard of this desert that were told of this desert oasis way out in the middle of the desert, in the middle of nowhere, in I think Egypt or somewhere in the Middle East. And this oasis supposedly is the graveyard of a bunch of dead Nazis who during World War II had an outpost there, and who supposedly hid some gold there. And then the Americans and the Allies came in and absolutely obliterated all of them, killed all of them, but couldn't find the gold, so they just left. And supposedly, rumor has it that anyone who tries to go snooping around there gets killed when the zombies, when the dead soldiers sort of rise up from the grave and just devour them. But the main characters don't really believe, they believe in the gold and they believe in what happened there, but they don't believe the story of people dying there because of some supernatural causes. So they go there and they start looking around. They find all these tanks and stuff left over from the battle. And then one by one they sort of get eaten by the zombies. Until there's only a few left. Now, the zombies in this movie are pretty cool. They're all they're in different states of decay. Like, they're not, fresh, but they're all in different states of decay, somewhat rotted, a little more rotted, super rotted, so rotted you could see most of their skeleton. It's really, really cool. The effects are actually really good. I believe this movie was in 1981, if I'm not mistaken. Oasis of Zombies. Yeah, 1981. Now, the main cast isn't really that memorable for the most part, but, everything else about the movie is really, really good. I think they handle the story very well. I like how they, balance the actual story and the horror and suspense. There's a lot of horror movies, especially, the zombie movies, that just throw zombies at you, willy-nilly and say, oh, here's zombies, zombies, zombies. The story is, we don't care if the story is, good or not, but here's the zombies. Whereas this is one of the movies, pretty much with every movie on this list, even my honorable mention, where they take the story into account as well as just, the zombies as well. But yeah, it's a very good movie, definitely extremely underrated. But yeah, Oasis of Zombies is at number 3. At number 2 is another one that's actually on here, and that's Horror of the Zombies, aka Ghost Galleon. It is two completely different names. Most releases see it as Ghost Galleon, although this particular release, for whatever reason, calls it Horror of the Zombies. It's actually part of a 4-movie series called The Blind Dead. Now, each movie is its own thing. It doesn't really have any connecting story elements besides the main, I guess, zombies. Of course, the undead Knights Templar, who are for some reason zombies because of some like I guess like black magic they did in their lives that sort of like affected their spirits in death. But yeah, so in this particular movie, this is I believe this is the second or third movie in the series. In this one, it's like it's interesting because unlike where like most start out as a horror movie, zombie movies or horror movies in general, this one starts off as sort of just a simple movie. Like it starts off with these journalists or this journalist who goes out in search of her friend, right? And she comes across this really shady guy who says, "Oh yeah, she's working for me, but I don't know where she is, um, we'll look for her." And for whatever reason, he just like is like, "Oh, you're snooping around too much. I'm just gonna lock you in this room, until everything blows over." Yeah, the story elements of the beginning aren't. Oh, hold on. Sorry about that. Some technical difficulties. Anyway, everything looks good. I think it's still recording. Okay. Anyway, sorry about that. So yeah. Anyway, but then they team up. They hear of this story. Oh, they think they know where she is. I guess they hear that she went out in the ocean. On this boat for a photo shoot or something. I don't know. But then they hear by one of the guys who was in charge of the ship that they were going on about this ghost ship, this legendary ghost ship that just appears out of the fog. And they're like, yeah, sure, whatever. And then it actually comes on the radar of wherever they're at this base. They have a radar for knowing where ships are in that particular area of the ocean, right? And then the ghost ship shows up on the radar, and they're like, "Hey, her friend is out there somewhere around there. Let's, make sure she's okay and nothing's happened." And then they go to that area. The ship is there, right? It's empty. It's completely empty. She's not there. And then, sure enough, the ghost ship slowly creeps out of nowhere, and they're like, "Let's search that. Maybe she went on the ship." And then that's kind of where the movie really starts to take off and really becomes interesting. So they search around the ghost ship, and sure enough, I'm not going to spoil much, but let's just say that's where the horror begins. But yeah, it's a really cool movie if you can get through the first half. Again, the first half is just kind of I guess sort of like a character introduction, but even though the first half is kind of boring, the movie does flow fast enough to the point where when you get to the actual horror part of the movie, it's actually very, very entertaining from that point on. Also, this is I think a Spanish movie series, so there is English dubbing, and some of the voice acting isn't really that good. But, if you can get past that in the first half of the movie, when it goes into the actual, zombie movie half, it's really, really good. Honestly, another really sort of unique setting for a zombie movie on a ghost ship out in the middle of the ocean. Um, but yeah, it's really good and also kind of feels like The Fog a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised if John Carpenter got some inspiration from this movie. John Carpenter's The Fog, ghost ship surrounded by fog, zombie ghost kind of things. Same thing in this movie. Ghost ship surrounded in fog. These zombie slash ghost thingies attacking everyone. But yeah, it's a very good movie. Definitely highly recommended. In fact, I recommend the entire series if you can get all of it. There's this box set, this coffin-shaped box set that you can get all the movies in. Runs from like $100 onwards, but it's definitely worth it. Especially if you check out one of the movies, or this one, or whichever one in the series, and enjoy it. Then definitely get the whole box set. Anyway, I'm dragging this out. Anyway, I should move on so this video isn't too long. Anyway, but yeah, Horror of the Zombies is at number 2. Alright, number 1. Number 1 is Return of the Living Dead. Despite its title, it's not a sequel to Night of the Living Dead. It's its own thing. This is really sort of where the trope of zombies eating specifically brains comes from, as well as the trope of the zombies going, brains, brains, that thing. Very great special effects, very good acting. Like, this was 1984. But yeah, one of the best zombie movies of the 80s, but in my opinion, it's definitely the best overall. It also has one of the most iconic zombies, of course, the Tar Man, as you can see here. It's sort of like, it acknowledges Night of the Living Dead in its universe. So, it's about these guys who work at this medical facility warehouse, right? Where they have all these, like, cadavers and stuff, for, like, what is it called? For what is the research? Whatever they use the cadavers for in medical research. I don't know the correct terms, but they have that warehouse for that kind of stuff. And these two guys, I forget their names. I don't know why I'm having a mind blank. But there's this one younger guy, this older guy, and then the boss who is actually the same guy who played Jesse's dad in the second Nightmare on Elm Street. They talk about, like, or at least the one guy, talking to the younger guy about, this facility is actually, hiding these bodies in giant canisters that, were the inspiration for the movie Night of the Living Dead. Oh yeah, it actually happened, just not quite the way it was depicted, or something like that. And so they go looking for the containers with the dead bodies, and then they eventually find it. And just like the idiots they are, they mess around with it. The gas spews out, and they get inhale the gas, which eventually turns them into zombies as well. But then, the zombies sort of, come out of the canisters, or at least the Tar Man does, and then, the gas goes in the air into, the clouds, and then it rains on the graveyard, bringing all the zombies to life. And then, in the middle of this, you have, the younger guy's friends trying to, figure out what's going on, and, they all sort of, gather together and try to fend off the zombies. It's a very good movie. I do really, really enjoy it. It's my favorite zombie movie. It has the best, in my opinion, it has the best everything of a zombie movie you want. Best effects, best, acting, very memorable characters. The only thing I find that's weak about this movie, it's a minor nitpick of mine, but I think the ending could have been less abrupt. I think they could have, actually had a sort of a fitting ending rather than just, oh, we're gonna cut right here. It seems like they kind of ran out of budget for more, for a couple more, minutes of minutes of film to, properly end the movie. But even with that minor nitpick, just, my personal minor nitpick, I still really enjoy this movie, and yeah, it's my favorite zombie movie of all time. Alright, so that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you all next time.